welcome to my wood shop. No, this isn't the model shop, this is my wood shop. I'm out here because I need to make a base for my Arizona. And so we're going to go ahead and knock one out. I kind of got a rough idea in mind of what I want it to look like and what I want to do, because I do need to put like a glass or plexiglass case over the top of it that I don't have yet. I'll probably have to custom make that. So the base design has to take that in consideration now. I have a piece of 1x6 pine, one of the super nice finished ones that you can get at any of the big box stores. We're going to use that to make our base, and I'll explain what I'm doing here. If you decide to do it yourself, make sure you're wearing your PPE and don't cut your fingers off, because you're going to need them for the fine detail modeling that you can do later. So that being said, we'll get into it and I'll kind of show you what I'm doing here. Alright, first order of business is to cut this piece of wood in half, exactly in the middle. I thought it was longer than it was. It actually was a little bit shorter than it needed to be. But I'm going to cut it in half, and because the single piece of wood is not wide enough for the base, I need to join it together. But then it'll be way too wide, and so prior to joining the two halves together, I'm going to go ahead and rip these pieces on my table saw so that I end up with about a 9-inch width. 9-inch wide board for the base when I'm done that I'm going to work with. And so just cut these in half, and then also once they're joined, you have a nice little center line that's hard to see but you can work from. Alright, this is my homemade moccasin vise, not quite 24-inch centers, but it's used for planing boards or working boards on their edges. And those pieces of metal there you see, those are, for the non-initiated, called holdfasts, because they hold things really fast. No, I didn't make that up, that's the truth. I'm going to put some witness marks on my boards where they're going to join together. And basically, that edge, we need to plumb those up or smooth them up so that they're nice and flat. And when I glue it together, you have a really nice tight seam. So the idea here is to flatten them out. So what we'll do is I'll grab my number 6 joiner plane. It's not quite as long as the 7, but this is a short piece of wood. Put some wax on it and make some passes. So the idea here is to get to the point where from one end to the other you remove, have a nice smooth shaving all the way through, like that. And that means your those two joints are all nice and tight and flush to one another. So this is Gorilla Glue wood glue. Just get it nice even coat on both pieces, smudge it down with your finger so that you got a nice even coat on the joint. And then the next step obviously is just to clamp it together. And the secret to clamping any joint like this is to use a lot of clamps. And I dug out all the clamps that I had and joined the whole thing up. Get nice and snug and let it sit. I did bring this board in the house when it was done because it had been frozen in the garage and I wanted it to thaw a little bit, which I knew would release the moisture and cause it to move, which means it's not flat. And that's okay, because the next thing we do is get out my number 5 plane and we start working the wood, because it's bowed, to get it flattened out. You have to basically get one side flat or pretty close, flip the board over, get the other side flat, and then you move up to progressively longer planes until you smooth the whole thing out. We've finished that, now we're moving back onto the number 6. I realized watching this that it looks like I'm working really hard, but it's not that hard, and it is a good little workout if you get going, and I've always enjoyed this process. Alright, that seam you're seeing right there is the edge that I marked out. The ship's going to sit in there, and I need to put an edge around the board, remove some material. So to do this, I set up my dado blades on my saw, and we're just going to go ahead and make a few passes and get rid of that wood. Off camera, I take some finishing passes to get rid of that little extra piece on the very outside edge. But as you can see, when we're all done, I have to clean up the little saw marks and everything, and I do this with a block plane, a rabbet plane, and my smoothing plane, and then you have that nice edge right there. So that's where the glass is going to sit. Now we got to put a finished edge on the board so it looks nice, and we'll do this with my router. That's a 1/4 inch Cove bit, just go ahead and make your passes here to put a nice little round, quarter round edge there on the board. When you're done, you gotta sand up your little marks and, you know, clean up the wood and everything, make it as nice as you can, and then it ends up looking like this. Alright, and here we go. After all that work, there's a rough little base. Just got that quarter round on there, and we put the ship up on it. So the other thing is, you can see it's slightly elevated. All I did was throw a couple 3/4 inch boards underneath there, just to give it kind of a lift. What I'm gonna do is I'll probably put like 4 or 5 dowel rods or something. I'll cut underneath and put it in, paint them gold or something to raise it up, just to get off the bottom, just so it's not rusting there, and that will help it look a lot better. So anyway, there's our base. You can see this is all pretty big, and there's just enough room at the bow and the stern over there for this piece of wood to work. And the idea is, whether I go with glass or plexiglass, it's going to be fit to sit right on top of this ledge and bump in here. So basically it'll come down and fit like this, and it won't be able to slide off. And the shelf, you can see, is the width of my finger, and then we got that quarter round. So anyway, that's kind of the mock-up of the base here. Let's do one more shot for fun with the guns. Alright, just threw the guns up on there to add a little bit to it here, but that gives you an idea of the height and the base, with the base on there, and then this would have a piece of glass over it. Also, you could display it with the glass off, because the idea is that it'll lift right off. And the other thing I'm not sure about, I think this edge here I'm going to stain like a really nice brown, but I'm actually considering painting this surface black. I know, you know, I got the wood all nice and everything, but I want something that causes the ship to pop, and I don't know what's going to be best there for that, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll see if you guys comment. I'll look at some stuff online and get some better ideas for, you know, what's going to make this thing stand out the most. So, alright, that's it for right now. That's how I whip out a base real quick. Pressing on from here.